Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup 2020 San Francisco Shock preview. So then, the San Francisco Shock are champions from 2019. They started off as what you could call a mediocre team in the inaugural season, finishing in 9th place, but they had a grand plan. They had some players like Sinatra who weren't eligible in the inaugural season, or most of it anyway, because they weren't old enough. And then they became of age and they started to improve towards the end of the inaugural season, and then in 2019 they took the league by storm, winning the league entirely, even though they didn't get that number 1 seed, which was taken away from them by the Vancouver Titans, who kind of got a bit of a head start at the start of the league. San Francisco Shock went on an absolute tear up towards the end of the season, going through the losers bracket of the overall playoffs without losing a single map, even knocking out our inaugural season champions London Spitfire, and the New York Excelsior as well. So San Francisco Shock put on a show last year. The question is, can they continue this going into 2020 on YouTube? If you've missed that, go and check out the video. It's an interesting one. So San Francisco Shock, there's not much to talk about, and this is probably going to be quite a short one, because what can you change about the team that won the league? Well, not much, can you? Just like London Spitfire didn't change much after the inaugural season. But London Spitfire did falter in 2019. The question is, will the same happen to the San Francisco Shock? Now, you can never say no, but I don't think they will. I think San Francisco Shock have just got too much quality. But you could have said that about the London Spitfire in 2018. So, again, it all depends on what happens in the league. And it looks like we are going to get a massive, massive meta shift when the league hits, because the current patch on the PTR is still regarded as patch 1.44. So, that will be the patch most likely that the Overwatch League plays on. That has got massive, massive nerfs to Sigma and to Orisa. So that is going to really change things up in the league. We don't know what meta we'll be going into. There's been speculation that D.Va could be coming back, especially with her buffs. It could be Ryan Zarya. But it's very early days for that, but there is perhaps a very big meta shift coming just around the corner, just before the league starts in a couple of weeks' time. So it could be quite interesting. But back to the San Francisco Shock. They've made 2 changes. And that is throughout their entire roster and coaching staff, there are 2 changes. And one of them was because it was enforced. So let's look at their coaches. And they lost 9k. Now, we talked about 9k a couple of videos ago with the Paris Eternal, because he's gone from an assistant coach role at the San Francisco Shock to a general manager role at the Paris Eternal. So he will no longer be on the coaching staff of the San Francisco Shock. It's not a massive loss. The only loss from the San Francisco Shock's coaching staff that I think would be crippling would be Krusty. And Krusty is definitely still there. Krusty, if you remember rightly, used to be at the Boston Uprising, did very, very well with the Boston Uprising, and then came into the San Francisco Shock, and San Francisco Shock are where they are now. Not just because of their players, but because of the very good backroom staff they've got alongside them. So, to replace 9k, they have brought in Arcane, or Arcane, I think it's Arcane, who is a South Korean coach coming in from Talon Esports. Talon Esports did very, very well in Contenders Pacific last year and the year before, and they also did what a lot of people will probably say better than expected in the Gauntlet not so long ago at the end of last year. So Talon Esports are really a rising team in that, well, not a rising team, they're on top of that Pacific division, but they're a rising team worldwide. And they've really made a lot of people stand up and notice them, especially in NA Contenders, European Contenders, and the Overwatch League. So there's no surprise here that the San Francisco Shock has seen the quality that Arcane brought to Talon Esports, and then moved him in to become part of the roster at San Francisco Shock alongside Krusty and Junkbuck. So there's not too much change here. Pretty consistent all round, and I would expect it for the San Francisco Shock. So there is 1 in and 1 out in terms of the roster. The 1 out is Nevix the off-tank. This is no surprise, because Nevix really wasn't getting a game. We know that Choi Hyobin is the off-tank for the San Francisco Shock. He absolutely dominated in those playoffs, getting the playoff MVP award, and rightly so. His off-tank play was absolutely phenomenal. So Nevix has gone to seek basically game time, and he's gone to the Toronto Defiant. No surprises, and I hope Nevix can find that game time at the Toronto Defiant that he so desperately wants and desperately needs as well. It's never nice to be basically, I don't want to say rotting because it's kind of a bad word, but just kind of stuck on a bench with not much to do. So they have decided not to bring in a separate off-tank to back up Choi Hyobin. I'm not surprised because they're not going to play anyone but Choi Hyobin. The only issue would be is if he gets injured. So yeah, but we can move on for that. But they have decided to bring in another DPS player. And this is ANS, otherwise known as AntSniper. So AntSniper, he has actually been around Overwatch for quite a while. He was with Blossom back in 2018, but he retired because it just wasn't favouring. Overwatch was not favouring him at all. But now he has come out of retirement. He was doing a lot of streaming and he was basically, I believe, one-tricking Widow. He's almost the... I've heard comparisons of him saying that he's like the South Korean Kefri. I'm sure he's not that bad. I'm not saying Kefri's bad at the game. I'm saying Kefri is just very often checking for hackers and cheaters more than he's playing the game. Anyway, moving on. Got sidetracked. AntSniper is very... Well, it's in his name. He's very good at hit scan, very good at the Widowmaker, and he's also got a good Genji, Hanzo, and McCree in his back pocket. So this is a very interesting pickup for the San Francisco Shock. I think it offers them more in hit scan DPS, which I think... I don't think he's going to start. I really don't. I think their go-to hit scan DPS will most likely be Architect, because Architect is so darn good. But Architect offers more versatility compared to AntSniper, whereas AntSniper, or ANS, I think he will be the very, very hit scan specialist player that the San Francisco Shock kind of want to go alongside Striker, who obviously Striker is very good at the hit scan as well. Striker was well known for his Tracer rather than his Widowmaker though. I think Shock lacked that big name Widowmaker player. I think Shock really did lack in last season, but it wasn't really ever called upon. This is the thing. We never saw... Well, we didn't never see Widowmaker, but it was never called upon that you needed a really, really crazily good Widowmaker player. Unlike in the inaugural season where we had a double sniper meta of Hanzo and Widowmaker, and your Widow wins you the match a lot of the time, and that's why people like London Spitfire did so well in the inaugural season, because they had really, really good Widowmakers. And that's why Houston Outlaws did better as well, because of Linkser and his Widowmaker. And I think San Francisco Shock wanted a player like that can really pop off on those really hit scan heavy heroes like McCree and Widow. And I think that's what AntSniper has been brought in to do. But that is the only addition to the San Francisco Shock, so there's not much to say. They're running a 10-man roster right now. They've retained Super, Sinatra, Architect, Moth, Choi Hyobin, Smurf, Rascal, Violet, and Striker. There's no surprises there, let's be honest. This is the San Francisco Shock. This is our 2019 champions. They didn't just win it, they 4-0'd the best teams in the league. Vancouver Titans, New York Excelsior. They just swept them aside in those playoffs. So they were extremely powerful. Now, they've obviously had that slight change to their colours. They're now black, grey or silver and orange. I would have preferred if it was more orange and black, with orange being the primary colour and black being the off colour. I think that would have looked really good in the skins, but hey, I can't get everything you want, can ya? I think it's a good change. I think it's better than their previous skins, but I think it could have been better. But hey, I'm sure there's people who like the new Shock skins. There are some people who don't like the new Shock skins. So that I will leave up to you and your tastes. But the San Francisco Shock will kick off in week 1 in Dallas, where they will play, guess who? Dallas. I would expect San Francisco Shock to win over the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel have improved, but not to the extent where they should be beating the San Francisco Shock. On paper, anyway. But who knows what will turn up when this season starts, because, you know, we got some shocks last year with some teams not being as good as they were in the inaugural season and some teams being crazily improved compared to their inaugural season performance. So we could get some surprises, but I wouldn't expect any here. And then, depending on conditions in China, San Francisco Shock will make the long trip to China to play basically most of the Asian teams. Guangzhou Charge and Shanghai Dragons in week 3, Chengdu Hunters in week 4, and Hangzhou Spark and Seoul Dynasty in week 5. The problem here is obviously the looming issue of the disease that's currently in China, the coronavirus. This could have an impact on that schedule because it is possible that the events might get called off. I know Hangzhou, the city, has actually called off some sporting events very recently. So, we don't know what's happening there yet. I'm sure Blizzard have some contingency plans for that. But in week 8, they will come to the Los Angeles Gladiators and the Los Angeles Valiant, where that should be pretty interesting. But if you go on the season performance from last year, San Francisco Shock shouldn't have too many stumbling blocks here. They've got a lot of power in their roster, and if last season's anything to go by, they will probably win most of their games in the season. So there's no good me saying, hey, they probably lose that game, because I don't see them losing any of these games. The San Francisco Shock are just as powerful as they were in 2019, and unless something goes catastrophically wrong with the San Francisco Shock, I would expect them to be right up there once again in 2020. But that's going to be it for the San Francisco Shock. We are now on our final 5. Next up is Seoul Dynasty. Then we have the Shanghai Dragons, Toronto Defiant, Vancouver Titans, and the Washington Justice. And then we will have finished our team previews. We will go into power rankings after that, and then a preview of Week 1. The Overwatch League 2020 is not very far away. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.